Hey there, my fellow designers and creatives. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another video in the super ultimate guide to design systems. In this video, we're going to go ahead and take all these color variables that we made in Figma and apply them to our components using design tokens, right? We're going to define the use case over here finally and see how that works. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, before we get started, I want to do a super quick recap of what we're going to be doing. So basically, we're going to be following Uber's token structure. And what that basically means is we're going to have three levels, right? We're going to have background, which is going to be our surfaces. We're going to have content, which is basically going to be our text and our icons. And then we're also going to have borders, which are going to be, strokes and dividers and all those things, right? So these are the three main types. Now, again, under background, we're going to have multiple, and here they haven't covered everything, right? Here they only have primary, secondary, tertiary, inverse primary, inverse secondary. I'm going to create another one called as static as well, and we're going to create transparent ones as well. So if we come down over here, we have more ones, right? So they call it extension, right? So for example, background, light, accent, all right? Background always dark, right? So this is basically going to be our static colors. And of course, there are so many ways to name all of this. And, I'm going to follow a little bit of a different approach, which works easy for me and which is probably quite straightforward for engineers as well. But in essence, we're going to be having three types. We're going to have background, we're going to have content, and we're going to have border, right? Three things. So let's go back. All right. So let's start with the icon button, right? This should be fairly easy to make. Okay. So this is our main component. Now, as you see over here, we don't have anything applied. We have to go ahead and manually create all of these. So now you can apply variables from two places. Either you can come here and choose local variables. You can press escape to, make sure you just don't select anything. Or you can select the icon and you can come over here and apply that over here. Okay. So I'm going to come over and say click new variable, create new variable. All right. And now I'm going to create it in a new page called tokens, right? I don't want it in the colors section. Our colors section is going to only have our level 1 and level 2. Our level 3, which is basically our actual, use case level design tokens, we're going to make that in a separate page. Now, we can't make that page from here. So what I have to do is I have to close this up, go to our variables, create a new collection over here. And here I'm going to call this tokens. Okay. And now I can close this and maybe we can add that right from here, right? So I'm going to come over here and say create new variable, create a new color variable, all right? And what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to reference the value, okay? So I'm now going to say keep it as FFFFFF. I'm going to come over here to our libraries and pick from our neutral colors. Now we want to choose white color over here. Actually, not our neutral colors, right? Because this is pure white. I'm going to click on that. So now this token name is going to have this white color. What does that mean? So now, first of all, we have to go ahead and add the name. Now, this is a surface. So I'm going to go ahead and call it surface primary. Okay. If you want to quickly refer what Airbnb did, you can see they called it background primary. I'm coming here and calling it surface primary. It's up to you what naming convention you want to follow. I like to call it surfaces rather than background. I just prefer that. So this is what we're going to do. Great. So now what that means is now if I click on this, I no longer should be able to see this hex code. I have to apply just the way we applied color styles before. I'm going to apply a color variable. And here in the tokens, you can see it says surface primary and I'm going to add that. So now we have applied a design token, which is technically a variable in this case and not a color style. I'm going to do the same thing for this one as well. So I'm going to select this and come over here and apply that token. All right. Surface primary. All right. Perfect. Now, the next thing is we have this icon. Now, the icon is actually a component. So I'm going to apply all the properties to the main component. So I'm going to click on this icon. I'm going to come over here and come here to the main component, right? Now, this is the main component of the icon. We're in the icon global atoms, as you can see over here. Now, of course, the color is actually coming from the actual icon itself, right? So which means I will now go to icons and logos. And here we have all our icons. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a token for this. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say, I'm going to come down here to the tokens. I'm going to create a new one called as color. I'm going to go ahead and call this content primary, right? And then I'm going to apply our color variable and we're going to use this one, right? Gray 900. Now, the reason I'm using gray 900 is because gray 900, as you see over here, is 222. And this is the actual primary color of Airbnb. This is what we got from the screenshot, right? So which means all icons and all text are going to have that. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to come back here to the tokens section. And obviously tokens are the third level. And here we have set it to gray 900. So now that means I can select all of these icons. All right. I can actually come down here to the selection colors and I can apply it over here itself, right? So I can come over here and choose this and click on content primary. And now all icons have content primary. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come over here, click on this and say content primary for all. Perfect. Now we have this red color as well. What do we name it? Now, if you come back to Uber, let's see if we can name it. So here they've called it as accent. They have something called negative. They have got something called warning and they've got something called positive. Right? Now, Uber's brand color is actually black, but they use blue in a lot of their places, right? Which is going to be like their accent color. All right. And if you come down over here, you can say they have used background accent, background negative, background warning, right? And here content accent, content negative, content warning. All right. And here border negative, right? And they also have some other things like they've got safety, they've got eats, freight, jump, reward, steer, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to go ahead and call it accent, mainly because we have 3 different accent colors, right? So instead, I'm going to call it the brand, right? Because the brand color of Airbnb is pink. So what that means is, first of all, because we're introducing an actual color in our entire tokens section, we have to set up a whole color palette for this pink color. Now, I'm not going to do that right now. For now, I'm just going to pick one of those colors, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate all of this and bring this down. And I'm going to go hold this brand. All right. And I'm going to come and delete this one. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to apply that color. So I'm come here to the buttons, or actually go to the icons. I think it was there. I'm going to copy this color, come down here to our tokens. I'm going to come over here and obviously I'm going to detach this and add this, remove that stroke. We don't need anything of that sort. And then I can just quickly select this and change this to like a dark mode. All right. And here, what I will do is I don't know what name to give it, right? But for now, I'm just going to call it, let's say brand 500, right? I don't really know where this sits in that entire palette. When we create the entire palette, we'll know where this sits. But for now, I'm going to call it brand 500. All right. And now we obviously have to go ahead and create a variable. So we're going to come down here to the colors section, create a new variable. I'm going to go call it brand, and you can press the / key if you want to automatically create this category that you see over here. And I'm going to go call this brand 500, and we're going to apply this color. Whoops, we should lose it. Yeah, click on this. We're going to apply this color, and this is done. Now, because we're using that for icon, I'm going to come over here and to the tokens section. Okay, I'm going to create a new one, and here I'm going to call it content brand. Right? The use case is for content, but we're using the brand color, and I'm going to map it to the brand color that we had made, which was brand 500. Okay. And to this, I'm going to apply that brand 500 here itself, right? Brand 500. And then I'm going to come down here to the icons and logos. And for this, I'm not going to assign brand 500. I'm going to assign the actual token, which is basically content brand. Right? So this one is going to be called content primary. And when we switch the icon is going to be called content brand. Right? That's what we want to do. So now if I come down here to the buttons, because all of these are connected through components, this one is now going to have content primary. This one also is going to have content primary. Now, some reason something broke. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the actual icon. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say reset all changes. And we're going to make this 16 because initially it was 16. And now we have content primary over here, right? Perfect. And then we have the background, which is surface primary. Beautiful and fantastic. Now, the next thing is we have this stroke that we made, right? Now, opacity tokens are not yet available in Figma, right? Which means we have to use some sort of a workaround. We can use variables, but we won't be using it correctly the way we have been using it so far, right? but we can still do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. So let's go to Uber and see what they do. So now come all the way down and yeah. So here you have, as you see, borders. They have border opaque, they have border transparent, they have border selected, right? So we're going to start off by calling it border transparent. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to press escape to escape everything. So for starters, I'm just going to go ahead and create a token, right? I'm going to click on color and I'm going to go call this border transparent. And in fact, what I'm going to do is, for better visibility, I'm going to add like this hyphen so we can look at things in a little bit better. And I'm going to make all of the letters lowercase so it's easy to actually read. I think that's better to do. All right. And here, now we have two options. We can either define that value over here directly, all right, which is basically going to be black and 10%. Or we can reference it from our color section. We have two options, right? Now, at this moment, since we do not have opacity tokens, right? Here, we have only color, number, string, and boolean. We don't really have opacity values, right? We can choose if we want to have this over here or come here to colors, create that over here, and then reference it over here. Now, in this case, because borders are going to be just probably one or two items and it's going to be easy to change them in the future, I'm going to make them over here, right? We're not going to have too many types of borders. We're just going to have probably 2 to 3, and I think that should be fine, right? So I'm going to keep this over here. And then when we come over here, we're going to click on stroke and we're going to apply a token. And we're going to apply the border transparent token, right? And now this border transparent token has that black color with 10% opacity. Now we also have shadows over here. As you can see, we have a shadow. Now shadows again cannot be part of Figma variables yet. We have to treat it like a color style. We have to treat it like a text style. So I'm just going to come over here and create a new color style. I'm going to call this shadow small. All right. I'm going to say create colors, create style. Okay. So now, as you can see over here, everything has a style applied or a variable applied, and that's what you want to do. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and how this affects when we create dark mode. I'm going to show you that, but for now, we want to set it up like this. Here we don't have any border or a shadow, so that's good, all right? And what that means here is that that property is going to be applied to all the variants that we have. Now, here's the interesting thing. If I click on this, right, you can see that the properties did not get applied because we obviously overrid them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this from scratch. I'm going to press Ctrl D to duplicate it. All right. Just so that we have a reference. I'm going to select the first one and I'm going to right click and say reset all changes. All right. So now when I reset, you can see that this is an instance of the master component and you can see all the properties applied. The first thing is we obviously want to shrink it to 30 pixel. So I'm going to press K on my keyboard to get the scale tool and shrink that to 30. The next thing is we want to apply this hover state of, this overlay of 4%. All right. So how do we do this? Now, if I click on the original one, we already have surface primary. Now, here is the interesting thing. If we added color styles before in the past, we were not able to go ahead and add another layer like this on top of it. We couldn't combine a color style with something else, right? And I can show you like a really good example, right? I'm just going to create a rectangle over here. I'm going to go ahead and, just give it like a blue color, right? I'm going to create a color style, just a color style, right? I'm going to come here to the style section and I'm going to call this blue, all right? Now, if I come over here and I've already applied that color style over here, I can't really add anything on top of it, right? I can't add that 4% overlay, right? I just can't do that, right? So I'm going to delete this, right? And of course, I'm going to delete the color style. We don't need it. And I'm going to come over here, and because we have variables applied, I can add another layer on top of it. So I can click on this, add that black color, and then go ahead and apply 4% opacity. Amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. All right. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to go ahead and reset all changes. I'm going to press K, reduce the size of this to 30. All right. And I'm going to add a fill. Apply that 4% of black color. That's looking pretty good. Now we have dark mode. We're going to do dark mode in the next video, right? So I'm going to leave this as it is for now. All right. And here we have this as well. Here we just have the variant. So all of this is applied, which is looking pretty good. This is the non-elevator. This is looking fine. Here we have this without any background, which is good. So you can see there's no background. It just has a content primary, right? So this is looking pretty good. We're going to do the same thing now for our navigation bar as well, right? And it should be fairly simple, right? So you're going to select both of these. We're going to come over here and in the fill, we're going to apply our surface primary token. All right. Now here we are already using these atoms. So because we're using this as an atom, which is the icon button, all of those are automatically applied because we added it to the main. All right. Here we have text. Now we're not going to create text styles yet, right? Text styles, we're going to do that later. But for now, we can still play around, give the color. So I'm going to select this. And in fact, I'm going to probably do it to the atom itself. So I'm going to come down here to all the atoms that we have. All right. And I'm going to apply that over here. So here I'm going to apply content primary. Now here we have this divider or we have this line. Now, is this a border? It's not really a border. It's a surface, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose surface. Now here's the thing. We don't really have a token for that. The surface primary is white. So which means we need to create a brand new token. So I'm going to create a brand new token, create a new color. We're going to call this surface. And now I'm going to go ahead and call this inverted, right? Inverted is the opposite. It's not dark mode, right? It's the opposite in the same mode, right? So if white is called primary in light mode, in the same light mode, this one, which is going to be black in color, all right, we're going to call that inverted, okay? Now, the color of this is again our normal gray 900, all right? So that's good. So our content primary is 900. Our surface inverted is also going to be 900. So I'm going to click on this, come here to fill and set this to surface inverted, all right? So both of these are the actual same color, which is 2222222, but then they have different tokens applied. Now we need to apply a token for this text as well. Now this, as you can see, is 717171. If we come here to our variables and come here to colors, all right, we can see 717171 is gray 500, right? We already have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to tokens again, create a new variable. I'm going to call this content. This is going to be content secondary, right? Because our content primary, as you can see, and maybe I'm going to group these together, all right? So we have surface primary, surface inverted. We have content primary. Now we have content secondary, right? What is content secondary? Is that gray 500. So I'm going to come over here and choose gray 500. I'm going to close this. So now I'm going to come over here and apply content secondary, right? Perfect. And that gets applied over here. We have this background. We don't really need it. I can just remove that background. So that's fine. And as you can see, all of them get updated over here. This gets updated and everything is fine. All right, great. Now, even for the title, we can change that. So now this is a variant of the title. So here I'm going to go call this content primary. And here I can say content secondary. All right. This is going to be content primary. We can remove the background. Does this have a background? Yeah, we can remove the background. We don't really need the background. So there's no background over here. This is perfect. And here as well, this is going to be called content primary. Now this is an icon. Now the icon already has the content primary applied because we applied it to all the icons, right? So we don't have to change that. And here, these are the icon buttons. So we have already created them in this video in the beginning part. So that's done. Okay, we can look at any other components that we want. We can click on this. Now we have this text link as well. This was an atom that we made. So I'm going to go here, over here. It's going to be in the global atoms. So I created something called as labels. And this is basically our text link. All right. And I'm going to remove this and we're going to add a content token. So we're going to call this content primary. We're going to say return to instance. So this is fine. Here, the drop down, if we check over here, all the selection colors, all of them have a variable. Here, all of them have the variable tokens. And this is looking pretty cool. All right. Now, the last thing that we want to do is just obviously document and organize our tokens really well. So what does that mean? I'm going to come here to the token section. I'm going to create a new frame like this. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and call this color tokens. Call this tokens. All right. And now I'm just going to delete all of this. We don't need that. Now come over here and we have all of this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. All right. Because I don't want to keep opening this, this dialog box all the time. So I'm going to come over here and paste it. All right. Maybe increase this. And now what we want to do is we want to organize them really well. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call this surface tokens. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate this. Whoops. Select them again. Duplicate. Oh, why is it not duplicating? Command D. Yeah. Okay. This is going to be called content tokens. All right. And here create another duplicate. And this is going to be called our border tokens. Okay. And now all we got to do is document them, right? So we have two surfaces for now. All right. So I'm going to go call this surface primary, copy this, paste over here. This is going to be called surface inverted. Okay. And we're going to apply the token, right? Before here, we had applied the first level, which was the nickname for the hex code. And here we're going to apply the third level, which is the actual token. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to call this surface primary. This is going to be called surface inverted. All right. There we go. Amazing. Then we have our content primary and content secondary. So I'm going to go ahead and call this content primary. And you're going to say content secondary. Okay. So click on this, I'm going to search for content primary. Here we're going to content secondary. Now we also have content brand. So I'm going to create a duplicate of that. Go ahead and call this content brand. Right. And I'm going to click on this, choose content. Oops. Try that again. Content brand. Amazing. Amazing. Right. So I'm just going to quickly change the mode of this to be dark mode. Maybe this also to be make it dark mode or light mode. Yeah, I think dark mode is fine, right? Then we finally have border transparent. So I'm going to delete one. We just need one. We'll call this border hyphen transparent. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here. And here I'm going to apply border transparent. So I'm going to come over here and search for border transparent. So now here we have our colors, and then now here we have our tokens, right? In fact, what I can also do is to be a little bit more creative. I can add the emoji over here so we can see things better. And yeah, this is fine. We can just leave that as it is. So we have our colors, and here we have our tokens. Now we can do this separation inside the variables as well. So I'll come here to local variables, and I can group these two and say new group, and I can call this surface. All right. Then I can select these two, or actually these three, say new group, call this content. And then we have another one, which is border, just say new group with selection and call this border. So if I want to see only border tokens, I can see. If I want to see only content tokens, I can see. If I want to see surface, I can see only surface, right? So this is what we have. And this is how we want to organize them. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment sections down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing, awesome content. And I'll see you guys in my next video. So then take care and bye-bye.